Hello, welcome to News Center. The Adani Group stocks remain under pressure. This after the MSCI cut the weightage of Adani stocks on its index. The group has lost nearly 10 lakh crore rupees in market cap since US-based short seller Hindenburg raised several red flags. Today, the MSCI cut its weightage and announced a reduction in the amount of freely tradable shares of Adani Total Gas, Adani Transmission and ACC from the 28th of February. Ratings firms Moody's has changed its outlook on 4 Adani companies to negative from stable and maintained the stable outlook on other 4 companies. And separately, according to a Reuters report, India's market regulator SEBI is investigating the group's links to some of the investors in the conglomerate's aborted $2.5 billion share sale. The Supreme Court today red flagged loss of lakhs of crores of investor wealth in the Adani stock crash. The court was hearing a plea that sought investigation into the Hindenburg report on Adani. Supreme Court has asked market regulator SEBI to submit a report on existing framework to ring-fence investors for shocks to share prices. And those are some of the updates on the Adani saga. Now, LIC chairman M.R. Kumar told CNBC TV18 that they are not thinking of investing further in the Adani enterprises and would meet the management to know from them the reason behind the stock collapse. In a conversation with my colleague Yash Jain, Kumar said that LIC has been investing correctly and fairly, assured that policyholders and shareholders need not worry. Kumar said whatever needs to be done will be done.
Let me get your attention to something which has been spoken about quite extensively, especially in the last 10 odd days. That is LIC's investments in the Adani Group companies, various Adani Group companies, which have seen a lot of hammering in the last 10 days. So much being spoken about your investments and the rationale behind those investments in these companies. What is the kind of pressure that you feel when you read so much, when you hear so much being spoken about? Because at the end of the day, this is policyholders' money that you're investing. How difficult has it been for you to actually, pass through these last 10 days?
No, it's not been difficult because, yes, we have LIC as an organization has been doing things right, always. So whether it is equity, debt, whether the investments have been made correctly and fairly is something that need not be doubted at all. And I would take this opportunity to reassure all our shareholders and policyholders that there's nothing to worry about on this score. And as we've already put out of the statement on 30th January, if I remember right, the total investments in the entire Adani Group are at AUM. A part of AUM is less than 1%. It's 0.975%. So that is hardly anything. So we need not worry about that. I can assure people that we are taking care of whatever needs to be done will be done.
Okay. As far as, of course, you did update the market on what is the status on these investments. Since then, there has been significant movement in the stock prices, also movement as far as the debt side of Adani's portfolio is concerned. Could you give us a status check in terms of where do your investments stand at this point of time? You said that you're still sitting on profits. What kind of profits? I remember at the peak, that was February 24th, you were sitting on profits of about 51,000 crore rupees. Where do those profits stand as of now on the equity side, on the debt side? And as far as regulations are concerned, how have you contained yourself within those regulations to make these investments?
So, yes, let me take your second question first. We are always within the regulatory framework when it comes to investing either in debt or equities, number one. Number two, on stock specific, we cannot give out details on the market value. You understand that. But people can calculate based on the book value that we have given out on the 30th January press, and before that also we've been saying it. So, as I said already, there's nothing much to worry on that score. I would only say this: the investments have been done exactly as per the regulatory framework, and so there's nothing to worry on that score.
Okay. I want to understand this from you, and putting LIC's investment style into this particular question. At one point, you were left with about 12,000 crore of investment gain in Adani stocks, which was 51,000 crore, as I said at one point. When do you decide that now it's time to act? You are contrarians, you are long-term investors. But what situation is an exceptional situation when you tell yourself that now some action needs to be taken on those investments?
So we will have to take it as it comes. I mean, this is too short a period to take a call on whether I have to take a call. As you rightly said, we are contrarian, we are long term. But what is short and what is long is a definition that keeps changing, and it can keep changing. But in this particular case, I think we will be sitting down and working out some more time. I mean, wait some more time and see what happens. It is too short a period to take a call. That's all I can say.
You also committed 300 crore as far as the FPO is concerned under Anchor Investors. Today, that same stock, the same value that you saw in the stock is available at 40% cheaper as far as open market is concerned. Does it not make sense to you, to your investment team, to actually go out and invest that 300 crore or more in buying the stock from open market now, since you were interested earlier?
That's a very leading question. So, I mean, stock specific, I cannot take a call. I mean, again, as you said, it's the investment department to decide what we need to do. But as of now, we are not thinking of doing anything.
Okay. As far as the last 10 days are concerned, since LIC is a contrarian, long-term investor, value investor, all stocks have corrected anywhere between 40 to 60%. Have you taken any decision in the last, have you moved at all in terms of adding or subtracting in the last 10 days? And do you see value? Do you consider at least for further investment now?
So we do investment on a regular basis. There is no day that goes without LIC being in the market, either for selling or for buying. But the decision on stock specific is taken, from time to time. And again, there is a regulation around it. So based on the regulation, we take Sensex 500 or Nifty 500. Stocks are within the basket, and which seem attractive to us, which seem attractive again in the long term. And that is a call that we take on a bi-monthly, sometimes on a monthly basis. So this is something which is ongoing. It is not something which is a knee-jerk reaction kind of thing. We don't have a knee-jerk reactions on this.
But at least
there is a policy in place, and we go by that policy.
It falls under your assessment category now, whenever that assessment happens?
It can. I mean, the assessment to buy or to sell keeps happening, keeps changing. So as of now, I mean, I see the markets are quite okay. I mean, for us, the markets are always good. Whether they are down or up.
Correct.
So it makes no difference really.
Correct. One last question on this issue. We had reported this last week, which was that LIC management was expected to speak to the management at Adani to understand what is the strategy. Has that happened? If not, when is this conversation expected to happen? And very clearly, what would be 3 or 4 things that you would straight want to understand as the largest, one of the largest investor in those companies from the management of the Adani Group?
So we have reached out to them already. We have not met so far. We'll be meeting shortly. And I mean, I can't tell you what the questions we have in mind, but then the questions that most investors have in mind, and why this market collapse has happened is one of the things that we would like to know from them, and several other things which they would like to explain to us.
All right, so that was Yash Jain in conversation with the LIC chairman. Moving on, the government is mulling to hand over the probe into the abuse of FAME subsidies to investigating agency. Sources say legal opinion has been sought on how to proceed with the probe on alleged misappropriation of subsidies. The government has already suspended subsidies for Hero Electric and Okinawa. Subsidies worth 750 crore rupees to about 12 companies is currently on hold. The government could even ask the companies to refund the money if irregularities are found. And speaking of EVs, we caught up with several EV makers at the e-mobility event in Hyderabad. Here's their outlook on government policies and growth.
I strongly believe that public transport needs a push for another 2-3 years because it has just started, and it needs some impetus for viability gap funding and also on the surety of payment mechanism. Till these two comes into picture, I would still expect government to support in public transport.
I think, when we looked at the phase 1 of the PLI scheme, which has been already announced and winners have been selected, it came with certain constraints even when the market is not ready. In India, the electric mobility the adoption is happening at the low end of the value chain in the vehicles. It's the two-wheelers, it's the three-wheelers that seem to be adopting electrification a lot more than before we get to passenger vehicles. And they are very cost-sensitive markets. But if you have to deliver what's mentioned on the electrical performance of the cells, there is a certain amount of technology premium that need to be paid. Right now, there is a visibility under PLI for about 30 gigawatt hour. And I personally feel that that's not enough to create that scale. So another tranche of PLI will be definitely helpful, but this time have the PLI defined from a market orientation rather than trying to create too many constraints for bidders to take. For example, in the case of Amara Raja, we have decided to go ahead and create a gigafactory facility even when we are not successful with phase 1 of PLI. So we know our roadmap very clearly. Now, if there is another tranche of PLI coming in, we would look at whether that's dovetailing into some of the strategic roadmap we created for us. If it is dovetailing, we'll be very encouraged to participate.
All right, time for a short break, but coming up, an exclusive interview with Coca-Cola's President of International Development on the company's India strategy, demand picture, and much more.
When our big boss was MD,